Hello, dear Starshines. Christina here with Lightworker Academy. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina, and I'm the acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about topics and issues that are significant for us starseeds, way showers, new paradigm visionaries, and beyond. We embrace perceptions and perspectives that are perhaps not embraced by the mass of humanity. So therefore, our challenges and our way of doing things is very unique. And I'm here to provide, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective on these topics and issues that we face on a daily basis. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and wait for the crew to come on board. For those of you who are checking us out on Facebook, I think it's all good. Oh, I'm sorry. If you are watching this live stream on Facebook and are having a hard time connecting with this broadcast like you normally do, that's because of certain kinds of postings and particular posters that have been flagged they call it quality of the group. The quality of our group has been associated with of a lower caliber, let's say, and therefore the notices that used to go out for these live streams may not reach you. So I encourage you guys, if you normally get these notifications and you're not getting them anymore, instead what you can do is, one, watch us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at Lightworker Academy. You can, when you see the notice go up, you can hit the reminder button and that reminder will get set to your email. But if you're still using Facebook, when you see the post go up in the Rise group, you can hit the get the reminder button, and then you'll directly be connected again with the broadcast with this particular broadcast. So just a little tidbit information. I hope that's helpful. Go ahead and say hi. Let me know that you're here. Dear Sister Alyssa, hello, darling. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have some interesting things to talk about today. For those of you who are looking for alternative ways to connect with us and connect with us to get more information, but also with other like minds, we are on several different social media platforms. We are, of course, on Facebook, Rise of the Multidimensional Human, and on YouTube, the Lightworker Academy. But then we're also on Telegram in a group called Multidimensional Human. You can connect with us there. And then, of course, we also have Instagram, which is Multidimensional Accelerator. So you feel free to check us out on those particular platforms. And thank you, everybody, for your support and contributing into the topics and issues that we talk about every week. Really, if it wasn't for you guys, I would have nothing to say. I would have nothing interesting to talk about. So thank you for your contribution. Hello, dear Sister Polly. Hello, dear Sherry. Good to see you. All right, so so these are the topics that we're here that I'm going to be talking about today, and there's some additional questions too, but I've narrowed it down to three main themes, and then I'll pepper in the other questions. And of course, if you guys have any questions live, you're welcome to put it in the comments, and I promise I'll do my best to get to them before our hour runs out. And of course, there's many times where our hour does run out, and I'm still answering questions. That's fine too. I'm totally happy to do that. All right, so one of the things, dear Sister Starshine, you know who you are. You prefer to stay anonymous. I know. She asked me if I can talk about the deep programs in the Lightworker community, okay, that keeps us divided and unsupportive of each other. So this has been kind of a running conversation between her and I over a period of time. There's a lot of information that's been shared. And anyway, so she's asked for me to talk about that. I think we all feel that. There's times when we get together in a group, if we're lucky enough to get together in person, there's some hiccups in the giddy up and how we all galvanize. Maybe there's some competition going on. Maybe, there's some politics, popularity going on, things like that happen. But I'm tracking it into a really deep, invasive programming that's in our subconscious that gets expressed, even as light workers. So I know many imagine the Lightworker community being all very peaceful and enlightened, but those of you who've been on Facebook groups of Lightworkers, you know that's not the case. There's a lot of hostility that happens. There's a lot of conflict that happens within those groups. So I want to talk about that. Hello, dear sister face. I'm going to assume it's Ray. That's the Facebook user. Hello, and hello, dear Nancy. Welcome. All right, and the second thing I want to talk about, I have a message here. Okay, so this was a video that was it was posted in our group. I believe it was our dear sister Joanne that's very active in our group. She posted this and a video, and then there's some other information was shared too about it. And I've been asked to talk about my thoughts about the hijacking of the sustainability and ecological movement. And this particular plan to hijack the ecology movement, the sustainability movement, is often referenced as Agenda 21. So if you want to Google that, go ahead and get online, start doing research on Agenda 21. And the main person that I want to direct you towards is Rosa Corey. She passed in May 2020, but she did work for well over a decade to expose the plan that was overlaid on the ecology movement. Because let's face it, humanity, we don't want to live on the backs of the bruised. We don't want to rape planet for resources. We don't want, third world countries to be exploited and their populations robbed of their livelihood. We don't want these things for other humans, yet we're in a system that does that. And a lot of us feel like there's no way out. So with the coming of different narratives, there's been a huge movement over the past couple decades where people really want sustainable. They want to go green. They want alternative ways of living. They want alternative ways of energy, and in this particular piece that I've been asked to talk about is how that desire of humanity has been hijacked to facilitate something else. So I'm going to talk about that. And then I have starseeds. Aren't all humans starseeds? Isn't that just a catchphrase? So that was a dear question from Renee. And then we have a few other questions too that are that are on this list, but I'm going to weave those in as I get going down the line in our activation and diving deeper into these topics. So hello, dear Susan. So before I begin, I want to ask you guys a question. Here, let me get a sip of my tea here. Oh, by the way, if you guys want something really earthy and delicious that does not have caffeine, there's this dandelion tea. So I make it triple strength, and I put a little bit of stevia and oat milk in it, and it's absolutely divine. It's like drinking coffee, and it just warms everything up. So I'm dressed a little bit heavier today because it's pretty chilly out today. There's almost no sun. And anyway, so I'm in the garage doing my thing. All right. So the question I have for you guys is, do you wax and wane do you feel like there's hope for the world, or do you feel like everything's going to hell in a bucket? Do you feel like this drama that we're going through is getting us somewhere, or are you starting to come to that place where you feel like everything's a lost cause? I just want to poll the listeners here on where you're at with this. I know where I'm at, and I go back and forth. Of, yes, this is all going somewhere, and it's something amazing, and then other times, throughout maybe even the same day, I'm like, oh boy, that's really tough. I go back and forth, and that's pretty much how my journey is. It's like some days are better than others. But I suspect that even my lows aren't quite as low as where other people have landed. I know that there's a lot of frustration. I felt that, but then of course there's a lot of frustration that we have watching things go on. Actually had I overheard a conversation of a woman. She must have been in her 80s, and she was talking to her daughter who did not agree with her about things. And the woman was saying, how can you not see what's so obvious? And she was really frustrated with her daughter. And I kind of had a smile on my face listening to this conversation, because the daughter didn't want to be schooled by her mother, her 80-year-old mother. And the 80-year-old mother felt like it was, like her final mission in life to get the truth, to bang the truth into her daughter. So it was an interesting dynamic. Maybe you guys have had similar things happen within your family as well. All right. Alyssa says, I have hope. All right. Glad to hear that. Dear Polly says, I see them as both being possible. Okay. And then Alyssa continues on to say, and I feel like this is all happening for a greater good of humanity. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think so too. And it's not having to do with relying on any kind of prophecy or there's a narrative in the Lightworker world that we're going through an ascension process, or maybe we're emerging, immersing even more deeply into the photon band. Some straight up reference prophecy that this is the time of the turning of the worlds. But I feel like my reasoning is even more grounded than that, and that is, it is in the darkest, and this is what history has shown us over and over and over, is that even in the darkest hours, humanity will rise. As in, no matter how deep the tragedy, no matter how broken we feel, there is a moment where we rise, where humanity does rise up out of its own ashes anew. I feel like this is something that is innate in our genes and our soul being, and it's something that is not of the ego driver at all. Is that we only can diminish so far until we bust open from within ourselves, and then we rise out of the ashes of what we were. This has been shown to me when I look at history and all the dark times that we've been, and and that feels like a truth for me. I know that I've in my trials and tribulations of life, of course, there's pains and there's suffering, and there's different things that went on, and it wasn't until I really lost it and surrendered all the way that all of a sudden I feel lifted. If you guys know what I mean. I've had these experiences myself, and it feels like no matter, this is the course perhaps that humanity is on. We're just going to keep going deeper, deeper, deeper until that shell cracks, and then the light within arises. Very similar to seeds. When seeds are planted, all the energy they need to crack open and sprout up from the ground is contained within them. There's no external source. There's no external, reference. It's in its darkness. It's buried. It's deep, and inside there's like a click that happens, and then the seed cracks open and begins to sprout. That's my sense of that. All right, dear Sister Susan says, yeah, I'm in your boat. I feel both. Okay. Hello, dear Sister Joanne. Good to see you. So good. So I'm glad to see that we're all on the same page here. And the reason why I'm asking this question is because our belief systems are being challenged, and we think that the other person who's wrong, they're in belief system. But quite honestly, as humans, we're all in belief systems. We're all in some sort of belief systems. Maybe some belief systems are more empowering than others. But the bottom line is we are all steeped within our own belief systems. And those systems are getting challenged indiscriminately, okay? Just like the creators of South Park, they say that they're equal opportunity offenders, right? So the fall of belief system is an equal opportunity for all people, all beings on this planet. So if we can really distill ourselves, and we can allow those beliefs that we have that are, that are being pushed down, that are being invited to be let go of or to shatter. The more we allow that, the easier that path becomes. Except these belief systems we hold so dear because they've worked for us for so long, right? So we're going through a trial by fire, so to speak, with that, and nobody is being left untouched. Nobody, even the immortal beings that I know of on this planet, they are also experiencing the trials and tribulations with us. It's just because they're more isolated or out in different frequencies of this realm. They are still feeling it. They're still experiencing it. All right, so let me go ahead and jump in. Okay, so we have our nesting doll. We have our outer nesting doll. And I want everybody to experiment with me. I'm just going to make a couple circles. I hear my old art teacher telling me many lines are more accurate than one. All right. Okay. So let's tune in to this galactic plane for a moment. And this is the Milky Way galaxy. This is an outer nesting doll. Now there's more nesting dolls beyond this, and many people here in this group are awake beyond this. But this is the minimum that a human needs to have activated within themselves to actually wake up with sovereignty. And one of the techniques that I like about to tune into this Milky Way is to focus on the light that's inside your solar plexus. Focus on that inner radiance in your core. And you can just imagine in your mind's eye what your greater self radiance looks like. You can do that. Imagination is a form of intelligence. Imagination is helpful because it helps us form a clear intent. So imagine what that radiant sun, that radiant core self might look like, where it's located. And then just allow every thought, every feeling, every sound, get sucked right into that core. Every thought that pops up, drop it right into the core. Every sound externally, drop it into the core until you start to feel a momentum happening, coming in, coming in, coming in. Yes, and as you do that, your body might heat up. And then as that happens, notice the core starts getting bigger and bigger. And just let it keep collecting thoughts, collecting sound. So every thought, just let it drop right in, drop down. You have a thought, am I doing it right? Let it drop right into the core. Get magnetized. Good, good, good. Yeah, so now you can feel the core is expanding, expanding, expanding. And just let it be that way. No need to maintain. No need to take care. Just be. Just let it be. Yeah, and it's going to start getting bigger, bigger, bigger now without you even trying. Just let it get bigger, 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 bigger until it encompasses, it fills even the entire room that you're in. Okay. Good, good, good. So this is a great method into tuning into the galactic mind. If you let every thought drop right into the core, notice I'm using directional, drop right into the core. As the core gets bigger, 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 you'll notice that maybe there's whispers that actually come up to your awareness. Good, good, good. And just let that be there. Let that be there. We have the entire Milky Way galaxy within us. We have all of the stars and beyond that we see in the night sky within us. cosmic dust within us, empty space, deep space within us. We all have different layers that we can look at the body in, or different aspects that we can, perspectives we can look at the body and find a frequency that is the something that we would find out in space. So, for example, deep space, that's emptiness, that's the void, there's no light, there's nothing, it's just nothingness. We have that within us. That's between the center of the atom and the external electron, right? That's empty space. And if you look at the body through that perspective, we are 99.9% space. Okay. Shift our lenses again, and this time start looking at it more from an elemental perspective: fire, ether, water, air. And we have all of those within us as well. We have water. Just tune into the waters of the body. We have air, right? We have fire. We have ether. Okay, we have earth, which are the mineral kingdoms. Okay, all of that is within our body. So just like space, we are nesting dolls of reality coming together to create this biosuit that we imbue with our consciousness, our infinite self, or maybe one might say our bigger S self, or greater self. Okay. So being in this outer nesting doll allows us to just very easily switch our perspective to see, yes, this is so. Yes, this is so. And there's no either or. It's all an and. It's all inclusive. It's all an and. It's not an and a but. It's and this, and that, and this. And once we start touching that, having freedom of that, we can very easily shift gears and go into the all that is, that all that is level of our awareness. Some might call this God. Some might call this the I am that I am presence. So with this radiant sun that has expanded out of your being, shift gears. See if you can just shift with your intent of just, for me, it's like sitting back, sitting back into the isness. Okay. The isness. Also great freedom in the isness. Everything just is. There is no good or bad, right or wrong, male, female. There's none of that. All is. And all is as it should be. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing left out. Nothing's forsaken. Okay. Good. Stay in that lens. Bask in the yumminess of that lens. And then we have our next nesting doll, what I call the stellar networks, but it's also the tone that encompasses your intent for being so. Your intent for being so. So this is the reason why your individuation was inspired to separate out from the isness, to choose to separate from the all that is. And to tune into this step, since you go into your heart space, everything's full of that radiant orb, and just go into your heart space. And when I say listen, you're going to listen for a feeling, a data set it's before it becomes words, it's before it becomes a well-developed thought form to create a word. It's simply a feeling. It's a feeling, a sensation from this perspective. From all that is perspective without individuation, it's simply a desire. It's like a thought that springs out of one's head. Yes, there's a lot of smiling perhaps with this. And who's smiling exactly? Is it your spirit? Is it your ego driver? Is it both? Where's the smile come from? This feeling. Yes, I love you, love you is in there. Gratitude is in there. Yes, all these other frequencies are in there when we listen for that tone, what that tone is. That is our core essence. Maybe you feel like an excitement is there. An excitement for being so. And then from that tone, that next layer in, if you can stay with me on this, that next layer in is now that tone creating a shape. And that feeling, I'm calling it a tone, it may be a sound, but it may just be a feeling. So now imagine that feeling coming into density even further, reaching, the boundary, a container, and as it reaches that container, it starts to create a shape. The shape may be something you recognize as geometry, but it may be something else completely. Just notice what you notice. You may just get a glimpse of your light body. And this is very accessible right now because of the season that we are in. We're in the time where the veils are the thinnest to the non-physical planes. So for those of us in the northern hemisphere, this is a great time to access these more subtle realms within us. And we have our light body. This is the blueprint for your unfoldment. Now, your specific unfoldment in the here now timeline is a section of the blueprint. But really, that blueprint contains all of your soul's journey, all of your lifetimes that you're going to have within the Milky Way galaxy. All of them. All the species you're going to be, all the planets you're going to incarnate on, all the systems you're going to explore, stars, interdimensional realms, whatever. It's all in there. Let me label these so they're a little bit easier. So we have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And then we have our collective field, 4. And the collective field is macro and micro. So we have the collective field of our solar ring. We have the collective field of our planet. We have the collective field of the continent we live on. We have the collective field of our family, our household, our personal energy field. Okay, all of these are part of it. Nesting dolls. And it goes all the way down to the cells. Our cells have a field around them. And your thoughts and beliefs impact the function of your cells. So there's a macro and a micro to this. Then we have our 3D plane where we experience space thanks to these lovely biosuits that give us that perspective of feeling separate. And the other thing about the 3D realm is that it's extremely unique. It's in between a very dense reality and an invisible reality, an unseen reality. Okay, so in a lot of ways, the 3D realm has the visuals. Everything that we can see makes up that 3D realm. And if we can't see it, then we doubt that it's real. If we can't, point to it and describe the color and the shape and the form, we question if it's real. So what I thought I want to introduce here is that just because you can't see it, Just because you can't touch it, okay, just because you can't give a very thorough drawn description of it, does not mean it's not real. It just means that it's not touchable in the spectrum of the 3D reality, right? So that feeling you had from tuning into the galactic mind and had that infinite, that radiant sun expand out, you can feel something shifting, you can describe something shifting, but you cannot actually describe it to somebody in a way where they're going to say, oh yeah, that's real, because I could see that too, right? All you can do is relate an experience. And maybe if they have that access to that lens, that experience will help them be in touch with their own experience. But that's all you have, is the sharing of experiences. And, so this unseen realm just, is as real as our 3D reality. Just like Dreamtime is as real as our 3D reality. It's actually a precursor to our reality. A lot of people might have a hard time with that because they think dreams are just dreams. We were taught that. If you were never taught that, you would really you would put more stock in your dreams because it happens on a regular basis. They impact you. When you wake up, you feel differently from your dream. If you have a nightmare, when you wake up, you feel the fear, you feel the emotional energy that was running while you're in the dream. Just like if you have a really amazing flying dream, you wake up feeling really good, you feel whoo, right? It has an impact. So that's the seed I want to plant with that. Okay, so that's the 3D, and then we have the 2D, which is the telluric realm. This is the microbes, viruses, bacteria, crystals, everything in the inner earth, everything under our skin. This is all considered telluric realm. And then within that, we have the heart and mind of the Pachamama, the iron core. Now, I posted a video. A video in the Rise group. I'm not sure if I did on Telegram too, but what was really cool about this video was this is that Suspicious Observer channel on YouTube. He was talking about he was showing a 3D replication of the bones of the earth. It was a 3D model of the bones of the earth. And he said something, I mean, it was really quick. He just said it really quickly, but I had to rewind it and listen to him say it again because I was like, wait, whoa, what did he say? And this model that he was showing on the video, there's a new theory going on among those that study the earth and the different things going on the planet, is that there is something called the bones of the earth. And he said that this 3D model was accurately describing where they're finding what they're calling the bones of the earth. And then he just said, like at the very end of the clip, it's the core of the earth reaching out past the core, but reaching out and creating a structure that goes all the way to the mantle, all the way to the tectonic plates on the planet. Now, isn't that interesting? So if you get a chance, I encourage you guys to check out that video. The guy's channel is Suspicious Observer, and he originally founded that channel to track CME's coronal mass ejections with the data and the different scientific centers, NASA and all this stuff, but then also earthquakes. So he's kind of like the doomsdayer a little bit, kind of like looking out for when a major ecological disaster or cataclysm is going to happen, but he also goes over lots of other information too besides that. And I really don't keep up in the science communities of what's going on, but I was really blown away by the bones of the earth model. Because to me, when I looked at it, that means that the energy, the consciousness of the earth core is expanding beyond where it was once contained. Yeah, isn't that cool? All right, let me get to these pieces here. All right, yay, okay. So let's talk about that division, right? So deep programs in the Lightworker world. Now, let me know, guys, do you experience separation in the Lightworker world? do you experience maybe, where you thought maybe you would find your peace, or you thought maybe you would be embraced, or you would find groups of people that you would love to embrace, but then there's all these other things that get in the way? Maybe there's some popularity games, or some competition stuff, or people don't want to be open and sharing and supportive, or maybe people just aren't being honest. Like, maybe they really don't like something that you said, and rather than being honest and having a dialogue go on, instead they just withdraw and talk to everybody else but you, right? There's that kind of thing. But here's here's a simple way through it, but this is the way that nobody likes, because light workers love energy work. Light workers love working with the unseen. Light workers, in a lot of ways, are not always grounded in the human experience, as in, through the practice of doing what they do, however they were trained or however they opened up or whatever, they've overlooked the fact that there's aversions that they've cultivated because of their belief systems. An example would be high vibe, keeping it high vibe, which means if someone is really upset expressing something, they're looked at as dragging everybody down, versus, how do we show up for that person to help things move, right? How do we show up for that person to help them process what's going on? Because quite literally, your thoughts and emotions are not negative until we make them negative, all right? If we have a feeling, like say something happened and we're really upset about it, if we make our feelings wrong, then they never get to move. They get walled up. And now instead of, say, existing over here in your torso where you would be, where your essence would be, where your energy would be anchored, instead is a walled up area of yourself. And you're going to subconsciously avoid that walled up area, because now there's an association that it's going to bring you down, or it's low vibe, or it's something like this. Okay. So let me know if you guys understand what I'm talking about here. Your sister Nancy says, Lightworker community around where I am mostly subsumed in the dominant narratives paradigm. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yes. Dear sister Joanne says, there are some spiritual groups, people who refuse to allow themselves to look at anything that isn't nice, rather than using what isn't working to move forward into what is wanted. Yes, thank you for that. Yes. Right, what is, right? So this is, so through the belief systems, there are aversions that have been cultivated, and those aversions justify us either, avoiding, not showing up. Just, I'm not going to show up because these guys are A, B, and C, right? Or, in judgment of A, B, and C, or, okay, this kind of thing going on. And the piece, for me, the piece that's missing here is that people aren't recognizing the power of mundane exchange, okay? The power of just being there as a human with other humans. Okay, a lot of people in the Lightworker world are really caught up in their identity of who they think they are. A lot of it is because they've healed themselves from something really significant. They've had a major awakening. Maybe they're really excited. Maybe they're super passionate. All that is great stuff. It's just that if it doesn't magnify your human qualities, then it's maybe not valued. Okay, so let me give me a minute. Give me a minute to try to map this out. Now, I spoke about there's a gentleman named Martine that has a school of learning called the Beau Lad's Kitchen. Now, I've been following this for a while because I really resonate with this man. And he says something that really challenges a lot of the Lightworker world. And that is, when there is a problem, the very first thing that you need to do is get to the truth of what's really happening. Find out the truth of what's happening. Okay, that's the first thing. Number two, you get together in community and share, right? You as humans come together and share about this particular issue once you get to the truth. And it's all about how you show up, how you listen, how you hold space, right? Having patience and compassion, and all these aspects are here in holding the space, right? And only after you take all those steps, only after you take those steps, do you have to resort to energy medicine or shamanic practices to help solve or heal the issue. Now, people may be like, what? But there's a deep wisdom in this. And that's speaking to the power of what it is to show up, embracing your humanity, the power of showing up as a human. Okay? You as an honest, vulnerable human with thoughts and feelings and perspectives. And it's not about one perspective being better than the other. It's about being patient and kind and compassionate and listening to the other perspective, or listening to the one that is offended, or the one that is in pain, or, you know what I mean? Holding a very clear space for them. Because something that we've learned in the academy is that by simply acknowledging an energy as being so, unravels it. Nothing special about that, right? It's actually very simple, but boy, things are also bundled up. It's really hard to get to the truth, because we, instead of being really feeling in the body of what's going on, we have all these stories of why things are the way they are, right? Versus if we can, let go of that busyness up here and sink down in here, we can practice that true presence that's in there. The presence inside of us that has more of a desire to understand versus to make one wrong. So in a lot of ways, the trap that the Lightworker community is in, it's an ego driver trap. Okay? They rather do something that is not within the normal human experience versus be in the normal human experience. A lot of people are bored with that kind of experience. Until you really connect and have that experience with another human, like you really get seen like that, and they really, you get seen like that, and then you see the other person like that, and it's like, wow, all of a sudden you guys are bonded on a really deep level. And it's not because you guys are alike, it's because you guys are human. And your humanity has opened the bridge for you guys to connect and truly care about connecting. Does this make sense how I'm saying it? Okay. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't take a great magician or anybody of particular intelligence or education or certification or anything like that to be human. This is why, these great medicine people that have come from different nations, third world countries, and they don't have the same systems that we did. So maybe they never went to school, or maybe dropped out of school when they're in second grade. That's why these humans have such power, such capability, because it's all within their presence. They've cultivated what it means to truly be present, what it means to really truly be human. And then we have all these people from the West that crave that, and they learn the ways, but then they don't actually learn the ways, because now these energy ways are far more important and interesting than the human ways. Okay. There was a time when my oldest daughter, she was, 13 or 14 years old. And she came home and I was really upset with her. All right, 13 and 14 years old. You guys know this. Those of you who have kids around that age, they're pretty much, they don't really want anything to do with you, or whatever you have to say is kind of rejected, because they're sorting themselves out on how, sorting themselves out as being separate from their identity, being separate from you. So there's a really deep inner turmoil going on with these kids. But I was really upset about something. I don't know if it was grades, or I don't know. There was something I was upset about. And she comes home and I start laying into her, and she didn't engage. and she didn't check out either. Instead, she stayed behind her eyes in her humanness, and she let me just go off in the tangent that I was going off on. And when I was done, she didn't have to say a word. When I was done, I saw exactly what happened, and I saw it was totally my issue. You know, she pretty much schooled me without saying a word. It was purely her presence. So when I got done, not only did I feel better, not only did I feel relieved because I got to express it. Okay, I was so relieved I got to express it. So, and I knew that she heard me, and I also knew that a lot of that was my stuff, and it wasn't actually her at all. You see what I mean? And it was her humanness that did that. It wasn't anything but that. She showed up full on, was who she was, and didn't take anything I was saying personally, and just held space. And then that was that. And all it really was a conveyance. And it it wasn't like attacking like this. I was expressing a deep truth that was really bothering me. And that's why it worked. If I was just telling her a story from my head of what I think is this and what I think is that and all that stuff, I wouldn't have gotten such relief. But because it was a deep, deep concern within me, a deep thing from within me that I really felt was the truth, because it was that being witnessed, that's why I got the relief. Okay. All right. Oh, okay, we're back. Not sure why that happened. All right, dear Sister Joanne says, yes, that Bolad's kitchen was what we were actively learning to do in the 70s in our preschool. The staff would dialogue and share until we were either laughing or crying at arriving at the truth, at having moved into the healing of it all. Yes, yes, yes. The problem is that most people don't know what the truth is. They think the truth is what they think. Rather, really, the truth is a feeling that you have inside. That's what the truth is. It's not what you think, right? I think this and this and this, and I think this and this and that, right? That's projection. So it's a lot of work to get past the projection and get to the truth of what's happening, the truth that is inside. For example, people get really upset. All right, so real benign, well, it's not benign. Just an example that we've all heard over and over again in social media and in this particular kind of shenanigans is the masking narrative. Some people are animate anti-mask and they're very upset about it. And then other people are super pro-mask and are very upset about it. And then you have the spectrum of people in between. And when people don't recognize that it's not actually, believe it or not, on the deeper layer, it's actually not about the mask. It's actually about betrayal and abandonment. That's the deeper issue of why people are so upset. But nobody is really sinking in to discover that about themselves. Instead, they're so convinced that they're right, and that's all there is. There's just, I'm right, you're wrong. Okay, so they're deep in polarity with that, right? So, and then of course there's a spectrum in between. There's some are very, very graceful on how they work it, and others maybe not so much. And it's important, watch the ones who are graceful about it. Are they graceful just because they're acquiescing, or are they graceful because they're really looking for the middle road where they can accept and honor each human in their humanness as they go, throughout their day? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I might be moving at a slower pace today. Today is very interesting. All right. So this division thing, it all has to do with, with its different layers of programming that feeds our ego driver, as one being success, one being not successful, one being, what they call that, poverty-minded, others not being poverty-minded. You know what I mean? There's all this polarity dance going on, and it's all about projection. And if you go into the Lightworker world and say something that is really against what the collective agreement is, look out. They will persecute you just as quickly as any other group would. Okay, there's no difference. Perhaps what's different in the Lightworker community is the things that they talk about. The topics are different. They're looking at things that are more allowing of these other layers of our existence to shine through. Not recognizing that they have belief systems piggybacked on each of these nesting dolls, right? A great example is the all that is. A lot of people believe all that is, there's nothing beyond that. And to suggest that there's anything beyond that is blasphemy, or different stuff like this. So there's a lot of cases here, but I'm just boiling it down to the simplest denominator. It's about your humanness. No matter what label you embrace, your humanness is the alchemical presence, is the alchemical element within all of this. There are people who consider themselves atheists that have profound presence, right? There are people who consider themselves really religious that have profound presence, okay? So this is a way of being. It has nothing to do with your belief system. It has to do with your inhibitions, like how you're not showing up. That's really what it has to do with. And maybe the religious, the ones that are really religious, their religion, their belief system gives them the strength and inspiration to really show up. How can we make that wrong, right? And maybe that person, that atheist, they had some sort of insight that really fuels them and gives them passion to really show up in a completely different kind of narrative. I guarantee you, put those two opposites in a room where they're truly showing up to find a way to connect if they desire that. Okay, which most humans do. We have an innate need to connect with other humans. This is just a default to being human. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that kind of need. Some people make that need wrong, but no, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just human nature. Humans need trees. Humans need air. Humans need each other. That's the basic, that's the bottom line. And if your belief system is something that creates a division, then this is something that you can look at. This is an opportunity to bring more unity within yourself. But see, because we have these belief systems, and those belief systems that we have actually, if they create good, bad, right, and wrong perceptions, they're actually going to make wrong things that are inside of you. And then when you make things wrong inside of you and you're not looking at it, you're going to project all that on everything on the outside. Okay. So a lot of people aren't even truly seeing other people that they're with. They just see their projections of who they think they are. That happens a lot. And there's this term of being ungrounded. And, this is an interesting term, because being ungrounded, I mean, how many of you felt ungrounded and then grounding practices and didn't really, and still felt the same way? Or maybe you shifted a little bit. Really what this is about, it's about being willing to see what's inside, willing to dive deeply and reflect. When I start feeling like I'm ungrounded, or actually I feel it more like scattered, when I'm starting to feel kind of scattered, that's my cue that there's something going on inside of me that I'm not paying attention to. There's something going on inside of me that needs my awareness to touch it. And as soon as I do that, I come back in, I come back home. Okay. Just food for thought as you guys go through your world. All of those old ways of energy medicine, all those old ways of light worker techniques, and all those old ways, those were all developed through lineages of the old paradigm. What we need to do is bring the highest truth of those teachings and weave that into the fabric of what the new paradigm is. So we're not repeating what has already been done. Instead, we're weaving an entirely new fabric, which means the tools and techniques that we use need to change. They need to change and upgrade with this new paradigm that we, you and me, we're here to bring forward and manifest on this planet. Okay, you're here for that. I'm here for that. And so many more are here to do that. It just gets confusing because what has worked before doesn't work anymore. It gets to a point where it just isn't doing it. And then we're left like, what's wrong? Maybe we'll go through some cognitive dissonance for a little while, but eventually, if you're honest with yourself, you're going to get there. If you're honest with yourself and you're deeper inner reflections, you're going to get there. Absolutely. There's no way around it. So the highest skill that one needs to walk their path is truth, honesty, transparency, you see. All right. And that's also for those of you who are Sasquatch experiencers, this is one of the reasons why that's one of the first things Sasquatch tells you. They start working with the heart space and they start teaching you about truth and transparency. And it's hard to do because it takes being vulnerable, all these things that aren't so easy to do. And, the other thing is that we all want to be good. We all want to bring gifts to humanity. We all want to express ourselves. We all want to be appreciated, to be seen. We all want these things, right? We all want these things. We want the earth to be healthy. We want the rivers to be clean. We want the air to be breathable. We want trees. We want nature to thrive. We all, deep in our heart space, we want these things. And the reason why they're not happening is because the powers that be know we want these things and know exactly how to hijack the patterning that we're trying to step into so it fits into what they want for these things. Okay. And this is important because it's never just something completely foreign. For example, the transhumanism movement, it's never just human and all of a sudden not human. It's always a progress. It's a little bit further, it's a little bit further, it's a little bit further, a little bit further. They call it maybe pushing the envelope, okay? And in the pushing of the envelope, they practice, they see what the hang-ups are, and they take it into their secret meetings and stuff like that, and they have the best minds available to figure out a way around it. And that's exactly what has happened with the idea of experimenting on human populations, like what we have right now. People are saying all this stuff about the Nuremberg Code, but what they don't realize is that powers that be have found a psychology around that makes that irrelevant, you see, that makes that not applicable because it's too old paradigm, it's too old school in its ways of thinking. It's not upgraded. Okay, they've done this by trial and error, because they know what's coming in the much larger picture of things. They know what's coming. They make their plan centuries at a time, sometimes multiple centuries at a time. Those plans get laid out, right? And then they watch. And they use all of their resources to analyze and find out and create strategies to work their agenda into the collective agenda. So humanity isn't that virus. A lot of us think humanity is a virus because of the state that we're living in. But if we were left to our own devices, if we were all born into a tribal type society, we would know not to poison the well that everybody drinks. It would be a no-brainer. We would know not to do this or that creates disease and pain for other beings in our tribe, because our interconnectedness is obvious, and we understand the importance of envisioning what we bring into humanity that makes humanity better. It's like a tangible importance. But in the way society is set up now, it's very elusive. A lot of people are given a program, go to school, get a degree, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house, blah, 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 blah. And this is the formula of happiness. But so many people do that, and then they're not happy. So many people go through the program and they're not happy. And a lot of people, drop out of the program, and then they self-criticize themselves because they're failures because they didn't complete school, or they didn't ever get married, or they, have kids or whatever. And because they're not with the program, they self-criticize, considering themselves failures, and then, still aren't fulfilled. So, no matter where you go, you're not winning unless you're someone who's extremely individual and you can care less about the program, and you figure out from the very young age that your happiness matters. Okay. Some people, they can go off on their own and do their own thing, and it doesn't matter. A wonderful example of that is Frida. shoot, and now I can't remember how to pronounce her last name, but the Mexican artist Frida, she was extremely individual, and she wasn't willing to compromise anything. And a lot of it was because she spent years bedridden in a body cast. You know, she had a major accident in her world, and she wasn't able to actually live. So when she finally got out of the prison of being bedridden, she was just like, I'm going to live my life. I don't care what anybody says. And here she comes. She comes from a very traditional culture. She comes from, the Latin culture. She comes from circumstances. I mean, there's all these things that she came out of, and she was just like, screw it. You know, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm not going to make any apologies for it. And she is, a legend in the art world to this day because of that. So, some of us wake up out of the program, but a lot of people have to complete the program before they wake up to realize it was all a lie. It was all a manipulation to get us to dedicate ourselves in a particular direction that feeds the system. And now that we're going into the new paradigm, into this Aquarian age, humans are really, really aware of the dire circumstances that our planet is in as far as its ecological system. Humans are aware of that. And so now's the time we have to do something, except the powers that be have mapped out a plan on how to use that desire to go in a direction that serves their agenda, which is central power, global, the global system, and there's subsystems within that. But you know what I mean? So they've devised a plan called Agenda 21, a step plan that is implemented locally. Every city council in this country and all the countries all over the world that agreed to this particular agenda, which was 132 countries signed that agenda, okay? All of them have their own grassroots version of that Agenda 21 plan, okay? So, and this plan is about bringing in different corporate entities, different bodies, different corporate bodies that do a particular role that is wearing the mask of sustainable living, right? So there's a plan for bike paths. There's a plan for things that we want, we think are great. It allows us to live more green. But what they're playing on is that idea that the best that we can do is live sustainably. That's the baseline of why that succeeds, because humans believe that that's the best that they can hope for, that they can live sustainably and we can save this ecosystem, right? Raise your hand if you agree, right? But us way showers, we have a different awareness. Many of us have a different awareness. And that is, sustainable is great. But you know what? There is a way to live in relationship with the planet, with nature, that is actually regenerative. As in your existence, the way you choose to live, the way you choose to feed yourself, the way you choose to reap your resources, apply your resources. There's a way to do it where you actually come up with surplus oxygen, surplus fuel, surplus food. You see what I'm saying? These are the starseeds. These are the way showers. We know that regeneration is the key. And it's actually coming forward into the collective little by little. Dear Sister Joanne actually sent me a video not that long ago of a woman that talked about regenerative medicine. It's an entire field. It's not medicine to heal. It's not medicine to cure. It's regenerative medicine. Okay, so this is the new catchphrase. You guys know I'm ahead of the wave on all this stuff. I'm the first one talking multidimensional. I'm the first one talking about acceleration. There's all these things that I do that's a little way ahead. But the next wave to hit us to come through is the idea about regenerative living, regenerative medicine, regenerative housing, regenerative power sourcing, regenerative food growth. Okay, this is the new way, and this is the way that where our true humanity shines, because it's now about our cup being so full. We need to we need to share it with others. There's no more hoarding. There's no more holding. It's all open free flow. Imagine what your life would be if you felt like you have so much overflowing and you really want to give. You really want to give your time. You really want to give your attention. You really want to give your money. You really want to give whatever those resources are to whomever might need it for their own good, for their benefit, for the benefit of all of humanity. You want to give, right? Big piece here. So the ones that are the new paradigm visionaries, this is where they're going. This is the direction that they've started. And this is, a lot of them are succeeding. Okay, so there's these they call them eco communities, where, you know, it's not, they go way past sustainability, and it's going into researching regeneration in ways that we've only dreamed of. And these people that are doing it, they're not, well, some of them are doctors, but they're not like amazingly educated, like super geniuses through the education system. They're super geniuses because they are tuned into their creative impulses within them, and they have the intent of serving humanity and bringing, you know, and they have a vision that they're willing to invest themselves in, and therefore it's happening. You see? All they need is other people that believe with them and are willing to show up like that with them and share in the vision and work together in that vision. That's all that's needed. All right, your sister Joanne says, open systems are self-regulating and self-healing, self-regenerating. The body is composed of open systems working in tandem. The body is an open system. Yes, the body. Yes. So we need to not settle for the narrative or the program that's given to us, right? So we have this desire to treat the earth better. We want our companies and our governments to treat not only the earth better, but other people better. And so we made that voice known. I don't know if you guys remember when Bernie was running for the Democratic ticket, he was breaking records across the country because he was speaking to people and telling them exactly, reflecting to them exactly what they wanted. Okay, but it was too soon. It was too soon for the powers that be that are running the agenda. So therefore, you know, that got completely squashed. I remember my kids were so excited about voting. I mean, as soon as Alexandra turned 18, she was registered to vote because she's like, I want to vote for Bernie, you know. But of course, he didn't make the ticket, because there was lots of reasons why, but I was really blown away because when we were in Colorado, I mean, the crowds were enormous. The lines went on for over a mile, and it was just like, it was record breaking. And the very few times that I watched the news, it's like they just said, oh yeah, and by the way, he had a lot of people, a really successful primary speech or whatever. I can't remember what they call it. And that was it. And they moved on. It was like, wait a minute. What about record-breaking numbers? You know, what about this? What about that? None of that was mentioned. So even back then, the hijacking of the media, the agenda of the powers that be, was getting reflected in the media. And of course, it's been going on for a long time, long before COVID ever came around. They just have it perfected for our COVID dance, if you guys know what I mean. All right. So this is how we outplay them, not because we have control over all the systems. We outplay them because we have more capacity than they will admit. We have the capacity to literally dream anything into being. We have the capacity to go beyond the structures that they've given us to work with. We have that capacity. All we need to do is really believe in ourselves, really be true, know our truth, so we can recognize others that are also in alignment with that truth and work together for that vision. Okay, that's all we need. We don't need to have, we don't need to have a lot of money. We don't need to have infinite degrees. We don't need any of those things. We just need each other, our vision, our truth, and be willing to put everything we have into that. When I say everything we have, I'm talking about every day you're Oh boy, this keeps popping off, don't I? All right, I'm back. All right. Oh my gosh, the hour went by so fast. I'm so sorry I didn't get to all the other questions. So yeah, so starseeds. Something about the aren't starseeds. Isn't that like a catchphrase? Aren't we all starseeds? And I'm saying yeah, I'm gonna say yes and no to that. And yes, it's a catchphrase for sure, but not everybody identifies with that particular label. The difference between somebody that maybe resonates as a free, of what maybe how I'm using the label starseed versus one that doesn't, is that we've come in with a particular purpose where we have more memories of who we are. We have more access to who we are than others that have not come with that particular purpose. There's also something called earth seeds, and that this is also something similar. Earth seeds are indigenous to Earth, as in their initial resonance upon separation brought them here to this planet. So they are deeply connected to the incarnated experience as associated with Earth. So there's earth seeds that are learning to get into these upper realms, and there's star seeds that are in these that have via permission on a deep soul level access to these upper realms and are working at anchoring it into the 3D plane. And okay, so it's like that. So there's a lot of people in the new paradigm movement that don't like the term star seeds because of this idea that aren't we all infinite and cosmic? Yes, we all are, but not all of us have the agreement to maintain those connections while we're in a body. So even beings like Hitler or some of the most terrible beings, yeah, they're a cosmic being in a biosuit, but they came with a purpose. They wouldn't be able to fulfill that purpose if they were aware of their infinite nature. You see what I mean? So to me, that's the difference. And I use starseeds because there's a lot of people who are seekers that have a resonance. They have a resonant feeling of what that means. So they're self-selective. When I say starseeds, they're already kind of prepared to hear something like I'm speaking directly to what their experience, what they're maybe within the scope of their experience, like that. Okay. All right. Let me keep going. Okay. So our soulless people walking among us are also known as filler people. Now, you guys, those of you out there, do you have experiences of, or do you have a sense that there's filler people in your reality? Filler people, what's the other, a non-interactive player? So that's called there's a gaming term for that. So how many of you feel like there's non-interactive players within your reality? I've also heard another chap refer to them as holographic people. They're like placeholders that are just holographic. And the thought with that is that, actually the gentleman that was talking about the holographic people, he was saying that there's so many of them. It's like 5,000 holograms to one real human. That's it. Thank you. Non-player character. Thank you so much. It's an NPC. Yes. I'll try to remember that. NPC. Yeah, a non-player character. That's a video game term. I don't play video games, so I really don't know much about it. I've just heard it spoke about in that way before. Let's see who else. Oh yeah. So another dear sister Starshine that I've talked about a lot in the past is Almeen, and she too has talked about this, but she referred to times when she wanted to leave this realm, and what she did was put a hologram in her place. So the reason why I weave that in here is because just because something is a hologram doesn't mean that it has no role in the unfoldment of the bigger scheme of things. Okay, all that really means, to me anyway, is that it doesn't have the quality of presence or the quality of life force that an actual human has. So they may have a role in the unfoldment, but it doesn't have the same quality, the same kind of presence or abilities that an actual human has, right? And I've seen many humans completely taken over, and it's like vacantness in their eyes. So they maybe started off as a as a human, but then has diminished over time via implants, beliefs, and all that other stuff that happens to humans. And you'll notice this a lot in certain communities. I don't know if you guys have I watched a video clip of the current POTUS, and he looked like one of those people that are taken over. It's like there's like a vacant look in the eye that it is so eerie. And then I saw pictures of him when he in his younger days, or even just 10 years ago, and there was so much more vibrance in his presence. So to me, it's very obvious, but it may not be to other people. But this really does happen. So there's those filler people, and then there's the ones that have become equal to filler people because they've been hijacked. And I'm going to say yes, there is a thing like this. But I wouldn't assume it's all bad. I wouldn't assume that it's all what do you call it? And it's something to be have an aversion to. If anything, maybe it's a good thing, because if the ones who are the filler people, they're all in the program. They may be in number, but they're not there in presence. They don't have the same power you do because they don't have that capacity. You see what I mean? Yeah, Walking Dead. Yeah, they do look like Walking Dead. They don't have the same capacity. They don't have the same ability. Yes, it's very, very difficult to really show up in your truth, transparency, vulnerability when you're standing in front of 100 people that are seemingly the opposite, right? But do know that they're running a program. This is where your discernment is really important. They're running a program, and nothing's going to stop their program. So this is your discernment is going to be like, okay, this is where I'm just going to be more incognito, until you come across another human that maybe is open to how you're radiating, how you're connecting. So thank you for that, Spirit Bound. Joanne says, just heard there are people being produced at Area 51. This is regarding Janet Archer's personal sharing video in the front of the Windsor Castle recently. This had to do with trafficking. Okay. I don't know that video. I'm not really familiar, but yeah. So there's clones, right? There's all sorts of ways to produce humans. This is getting into more of a awareness on a there's technologies that are in existence far beyond what we know on this planet, but these technologies exist in these other solar systems, or these other star systems, these other planetary systems and stuff like this. And there are technologies where our government is connecting with those systems and exchanging things, a lot of times as humans and their life force, exchanging things for that technology, okay? And that's all the power over dynamic. The larger economy based on consuming life force, okay? So when I say larger economy based on consuming life force, it's not just galactic, but it goes into the cosmic realms as well. So this is why it's so important for us to wake up to who we are on these levels, so we don't feel, we don't feel outplayed or overpowered. We can recognize that we are equal to these beings. Our consciousness within this body has the capacity to be just as powerful and equal to these non-corporeal cosmic beings. Absolutely. But we have to wake up to who we are on these levels and recognize the truth of that. Okay, before we can start working on those levels, because these levels, it's a whole nother game. But it's pretty common among all humans what kinds of journeys that it requires, kinds of things it requires on your journey to open up to these levels. Okay, a lot of times people will wake up to who they are on a cosmic arena and recognize that they've been a part of that agenda, that life force economy agenda for a long time. True story. All right. So the filler people are so, and there's many people that have discovered this and talked about this in other ways. I would say I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just a matter of recognizing what you're giving your energy to. Just don't give it any Don't give them fuel. Don't give them fuel. They're there to distract you. They're there to create things to focus yourself, focus your energy on. And if they can, they want to elicit frustration, anger, hostility. You know, they want to focus on those kinds of traits within the human condition, right? And that will keep us locked in. Because remember, when you have energy going out to something, you never call it back. That energy is always call it back to yourself. You need to close that door, close that window, so you're no longer draining life force to those scenarios, to those holographic beings or the filler people or whatever the narrative is, whatever the structure is. You need to call your energy back from that. All right. And then we have, what is the difference between the Galactic Federation and the Intergalactic Federation? Okay, so the keepers of the 8D, of the all that is presence, the I am presence that I am, the keepers of this consciousness, they're like gatekeepers, so to speak. And they participate in maintaining the integral access. Like, so every being, when they're at the frequency that's a match or that's required to access these pieces, they make sure that it remains available for them, so to speak. And that's in the old paradigm, it was the Galactic Federation. The Galactic Federation was made up of many hundred, like more than like 240 something races. There's many races of beings that made up councils like that made up the Galactic Federation. Now that we're moving into the new paradigm, as in we're moving out of the black hole Milky Way galaxy reality, and we're coming into a more united in a united universal consciousness, right? Then this model is upgrading with that, and now we have a collective of beings that's in the thousands of races, and that's the Intergalactic Federation. Still the gatekeepers, still the keepers of this kind of consciousness, but it's across multiple galaxies that are participating in being the initiators, the whole space holders for that consciousness. Okay, so that's the difference. Many people who are on their spiritual awakening journey come across eventually an aspect of themselves that is a member of the Galactic Federation or Intergalactic Federation. That's very common. Okay, it's also it can become an ego trip too. So it's like, yes, there's an aspect of me doing this, and yes, it has profound guidance to share with me, and you're reintegrating with that. But it's really special to wake up to that aspect of yourself and reintegrate. But at the same time, everybody has that kind of connection. So it's special while it's changing you, while it's shifting you, while it's transforming you, and then you move on to something else. You move on, right? It's not something that makes you different than everybody else. That identity, the integration, the reality of that consciousness does make you different, but the identity doesn't matter. It falls away as being important after a certain period of time of reintegration with your level of consciousness. So there's that. All right, did I get to all the questions? And guys, thank you for all your comments. There was no questions going on. Let me see if I missed anything. Oh, I did miss something. Okay, I don't know if I can answer this quickly. It says, is traveling through time different than traveling through space? This is your sister Renee, by the way. Like time traveling, only going through the fourth dimension, and space or astral through them. Okay, so right. So I used to think the 3D was linear space and time. Okay, it's definitely space, but now I'm realizing that that 4D is the energy of time. And there's different kinds of time. There's time like flying through, time like an arrow, right? There's a clear linear path. And when you progress on that path, there's a clear history, there's a clear now, and there's a future. And that is timeline trajectory right there. But then once you get to the Akasha, time actually becomes a circular spiral kind of thing, right? So when you're moving through time, right, you're moving through a something that gives you a sense of this event here being different than this event over here. Okay, and if you have an entanglement somewhere, you're going to keep looping and re-experiencing different flavors of that entanglement over and over and over and over again until it becomes entangled, and then you won't repeat that, you won't recreate that to have the experience. So in natural organic time, let's say, it's more about the movement of your consciousness than your physical body. Okay. When you're talking about time and how we measure time in 3D, okay, so then that's when the physicality starts getting woven into it. Now, there are, I think it was David Wilcock that used to talk about the difference between time, space, and space-time. Now, I don't remember all the teachings on that, but I do remember that concept where if you move 3 feet to the left, you're moving into a different timeline in time space, but in space time, you can move any direction. Oh, wait a minute, I have it backwards. So where you can move from one space to the other, like if you physically take your body and move it to the other side of the room, you are actually moving through time and not space. And then the reverse of that is if you're in a physical body and you move to the other side of the room, you are moving through space, but not time. I believe that's how we describe that. So yeah, see, that's a model that I don't really know where I'm at with that. I would say that time is malleable. Time is relative, and time is different according to what perspective you're experiencing it through. Okay, so there is something called time waves that is talked about that emanates from the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and these time waves are actually evolution waves. Like the first time wave was many billions of years in between wavelengths, and that was the first foundation to creating the telluric realm, bringing the telluric dreamers into being, right? And then there was another time wave that was much shorter than that, and that was bringing all those telluric elemental beings to that next layer, which is creating biosuits, individuation. So that's the amoebas and the different beings that were first life. And then there was another time wave that was even shorter than that was emanating, and that's where we started to coalesce and families and tribes and stuff like this, right? And with this particular teaching, there were 9 time waves altogether to unfold within the Milky Way galaxy. The last one starting in 1999, which was technology, which means technology is a part of our existence, whether we like it or not. So we have to find a way to harmonize that without canceling out any of the previous time waves that have been released through the center of the Milky Way galaxy. So like I said, each nesting doll has a different perception and relationship. They all have a different kind of time. In a lot of ways, we'd say outside time and space, which is a little bit misleading because there is a sense of relationship, and it's the relationship that tells us that one time is different than another time. Like this now moment is different than another now moment. If that makes sense the way I'm saying it. It's a difficult thing to put words into, especially quickly. Normally, I like to weave in a bunch of understandings and then convey the understanding. I'll see if I can come up with a better way to explain it next week. All right. Wow, time just flew by today. That's amazing. Well, thank you everybody for being here and being part of the chats. The 9-dimensional, the third week of the introduction to my 9-dimensional liberation is tomorrow. So I will post the link for that in the perspective groups, in the Rise of the Multidimensional Human group in Facebook, the Multidimensional Human group in Telegram, and also on the Instagram feed. I'll post the link if you guys want to take part in that. I have a link for handouts so you can listen to the replays and catch up before we start tomorrow. Tomorrow we're diving deeper into the activation process. So far, we talked about the canopy and this kind of thing, and then connecting with telluric realm, and then we're going to go deeper into using sound for the activation process, and then and then there's one more week after that. So that's completely for free. I'll post the link if you guys are interested in that. It's interesting, the resurgence of this work, the reinterest of Barbara's work. It's really great. To see that come about. There's like a whole nother wave of humanity that's ready for it, which is awesome. And if you guys are interested in getting involved with the Lightbody Academy, we have a new program called Quantum Reality Shift. And that is you can find that on our website, Lightbody Academy. And that is a 6-month program to walk you through the tools and techniques that we use in the Academy to unravel quantum that is entangled in places outside of the here and now. So that could be ancestry, that could be Akashic records, and beyond. So we step by step go through that, go through the systems that we use, and for you to teach you and give you the experience of it for 6 months. So that's on lightbodyacademy.com. All right, and I think that's it for me. Thank you, guys. It's always fun. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye-bye. Take care.